Well, welcome to our third and fun class for today, zipForm's Advanced Tools and Tips. I am one of your co-hosts, Anthony. I work here at Orange County Realtors. A quick introduction of who I am. I'm joined today by our main trainer today, Leo Loera. Leo, can you tell the audience a little bit about who you are?
I am the trainer with the Orange County Realtors, and I'm here to, we're going to go over how to do some of the tips, some of the advanced features of how to use zipForms. I've been with the association, well, for some time. Is this displaying the information correctly, Mr. Anthony?
Yep.
Okay. And so yes, I've been with the association since 2007. I started off in membership and then progressed upward to become the super key specialist. And then thereafter, I became a office outreach trainer. So I've trained, as well as Anthony, I've trained on a number of different topics, including Supra, zipForms, and some of the other tools that are used by the association, as well as in membership. Yeah, that's kind of like summarizing what we do here at the board. And also, we have taught classes live prior to the pandemic at whether it be at our association offices or at some of the larger real estate offices as well throughout Orange County. So today we're going to talk about some tips to make life a little bit easier when using zipForms. So let's get started.
Now, real quickly, before we jump into the deep end of the pool here, we are recording today's webinar. Everybody attending today will get a copy of today's webinar. But we will take any and all questions. So feel free to type in your questions either in the chat box or the Q&A section. I will keep track of that. And if we do go over something too quickly, please stop us. We'll be more than happy to go over that information with you. And with that said, Leo, take it away.
All righty, so here we go. We're going to start off with today's advanced tips. So we're going to, and these are going to sound, when you hear this, you're going to say, what? I don't get it. And honestly, when I first saw this, I'm like, what? I don't get it. But I'll explain all of these. And you're going to find out that, oh, it's much simpler than the way it's described. Sometimes life is like that. So mutually exclusive checkbox field, auto adding addendum, text overflow addendum, clause manager, creating a listing transaction with the Realtors property resource, also known as RPR, and the share function. So let's get started. So the next function, the next slide is going to be mutually exclusive checkbox field. So for some of those of us who have taken a logic course in college, this is going to sound like one of those sessions back in the day. If A, not B. If all cash offer, then it cannot have a loan information. So that makes sense. So if A is an all cash offer, then B, you cannot have any loan information. So we're going to refer to page 1 of the RPA section 3C and 3D. So let's go into it. So we're going to take a look at this previous transaction we created in the last classes. Go into documents and choose the residential purchase agreement. And I'm really just emphasizing it's not as big as a complication, but it's kind of a cool thing to know when it comes to realizing if A, not B. So here is section C. So let's zoom in a little bit. So here we go. So we have finance terms, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And this button says all cash offer. So what you're going to pay attention to is this area right over here. If I click the button that says all cash offer, all of this is disabled because obviously if you're doing an all cash offer, you cannot have a loan because it's being paid with all cash. Yes, it's that simple. So it's making it simple because long ago, before this was put together, there were fields like this within some of the contracts that some individuals would say, oh yes, it is an all cash offer. And then they put in loan information. You're like, well, no, no, no. It's either all cash or it's loan, not all cash and loan. So with enough complaining from our agents, they were able to correct this issue. So that way our realtor members no longer have to endure the pain of other agents who've endured it long ago of trying to explain to the other agent, you cannot have all cash and loan offer. So you're going to see it in some of the different forms that come up from time to time. So in case you are like, well, what happened? Okay, so this is what happens. One or the other. Now, if you were to go down here and type in, say, 3.8%, for example, and then 2.5%, and you click, but then you click all cash offer. Yep, those fields go away. See? There it is. Interesting. So if A, not B. So that's the first tip that we've covered. So let's go into the next tip. So as you see, it's like, oh, it's harder to say mutually exclusive checkbox field than what it stands for. Yes, it is. Auto adding addendum. Auto adding addendum. If you click that, you will be including a form. Then zipForm will add that form automatically. Makes sense. We're going to refer to RPA page 2, section 5, addenda and advisories. And if added accidentally, uncheck remove form manually. So let's take a look at that. So let's go take a look. Okay, so we're talking about this section here. Now, this doesn't happen in every form, every contract. It happens on some of them, and this is an example of where we're going to see it. So looking down here, there we go, in this section here. This one's already check marked with the buyer inspection advisory. But let's say that we need the probate advisory. So if we click that, it will say probate advisory attached to PPA was successfully added. So every time we click something like this, like for example, a REO form or a short sale form, or whatever that's in this section within a form, addendum, these forms are automatically added to the transaction. How do I know that? If I click back, I could be able to see that, oh my goodness, here we go. The probate advisories here, the REO, short sale, and the addendum. Now let's say, let's going back into the RPA, and that same spot we were at, let's say, oh, I should not have clicked the REO. I should not have clicked the short sale. And I should not have clicked probate. So if I unclick those and I go back to the transaction, then I'll say, uh-oh, they're still there. What do I do? I'll leave the addendum there. Like, no biggie, just click the box here, here, and here. Or you can delete them individually, and then there's a button that says delete. Click it. Your broker settings may prevent you from deleting certain types of documents. That's fine, let's go do it. Done. So I have deleted those documents. So now I just have the addendum in the RPA form. So what's the big phrase that we use to describe what we just did? Let's go over that together. Auto adding addendum. I know. More syllables than the actual, and it sounds more difficult than the actual act of what it does for us. And it makes so much sense. If you want in a particular form and it's already in that contract, click it and it automatically adds it. That was a big plus from the past when it was not that way, when you had to manually add the form, which didn't make sense. Text overflow addendum. That's a fun one. This will automatically add the addendum when the text is more than the display field. The TOA form, text overflow addendum, will be added to the end of the documents list. It will display the contract, the page, and the section. It can be used in any contract requiring text, and it'll be automatically adding. Will automatically add more TOA forms, text overflow addendum forms, if the first page is full and complete. So let's go take a peek at that other, back to the RPA. Okay, so at the RPA, oh, let's go back to here. Let's go back up to financial terms. Okay, so we'll type in start. And then if I just go, and I'm just typing gibberish, and I'm pretending that these are large, these are reasons why that I'm actually writing like some of the terms of the financing, but how the heck did I write down poop? Let's get rid of poop. That's embarrassing. Okay, and then let's say we're just writing a story down about the financial terms, but you have a gift that'll be provided by the maternal parents. You have a gift from the paternal grandparents. You have a gift from a sibling of the groom, etc. And then you write, and then for this particular, I'm going to write down end. So if we see that I see start and I don't see end, so I wonder, did I type everything that I typed in there? Where's the rest of it? Where'd it go? With a text overflow addendum, instead of the old way was to manually write down C TOA form, and it'll say, etc. You would simply just go to preview. Yes, it saved it. And you're like, okay, it better show up. It better show up. And like, I'm the same way. Like, it better show it up because I did a lot of typing. That was a lot of typing. Okay, so here is where we did the typing. Additional financing terms, C text overflow addendum, CAR form TOA paragraph 1. And where is that going to be at? There we go. Text overflow addendum. So it's automatically added onto the contract, and then it gives you that information. It tells you where it's at, RPA, paragraph 3E, additional financing terms, start and end. See? So you can, if you don't have to be governed to type in something as only as maybe 140 characters, 20 characters, 30 characters, whatever. You can be able to type in as much as you need to that applies to this particular area. Now, this doesn't apply to everything, but only in certain areas where it requires additional explanation. So RPA financing terms, and you'll also be able to use something like this if you need to in the agent visual inspection, the AVID disclosure form. So that is, once again, let's go back into the description of it, text overflow addendum. See, more syllables than it really just means, it just automatically adds a TOA form when you type in more than that, what that field can hold. Clause manager. Before I hit clause manager, are there any questions so far?
Leo, what is a clause?
Conjunction, junction, what's your function? Okay, I'm sorry, I went back to the 1970s on that. For some of you that remember that, that was talking about prepositions and phrases and clauses. So that's different than what we're going to talk about. The clause manager is, you're going to use verbiage that may be used for often needed forms, or for forms that rarely, for more like clauses that are rarely used, but are required, that require specific wording in that particular form. Let me rephrase that. If you use a particular verbiage over and over and over again in certain transactions, you might also make it you might want to use it. It'd be better to have it saved on the software from zipForms, and this is how you're going to do it. If you have a phrase that's rarely used, but it has to be used every single time, like let's say in a short sale, a probate, situations you don't normally see all that often, you can auto populate that phrase into whatever spot that's required. Personal clauses are the ones created by the user. The library clauses are from the broker. So if it's a broker edition of zipForms and you're logging in through this broker edition from zipForms because your brokerage does it that way, you're going to be looking at the library clauses. But here we're going to focus on the personal clauses. We're going to create a clause. We're going to choose a category, clause title, clause wording, and then I'll show you about the pencil icon, and then what it can do, and the changes that can happen in that particular area. So where should I pick on this? So clause. Okay, so we go back out. Oh, let's see. Let me just back up here. Transaction tools. So this here is where we would use Clause Manager. Clause Manager is very similar to templates. Now, templates was used to speed up the process of doing a transaction. Because if you did a transaction, let's say put an offer for a residential listing, and you notice, okay, in my situation, it was the cover letter, the cover sheet, the residential purchase agreement, maybe perhaps agent visual inspection, maybe perhaps it was water heater, whatever. You put on all these forms. Let's say it's 7 forms or 7 disclosures, contracts, etc., documents, and use that over and over again. It was easy to make that template, to create that template, and then apply it when you need it. The clause works the same way. So let's do that. So I'm going to, so here there's no clauses. I'm in personal clauses. I'm going to create a clause. I'm going to choose a category. Now, long ago, I created categories of buyer and seller. So I'm going to, this one is going to be buyer. The clause title, seller at close. Okay. Now, this is just showing you how to use the software. This, what I'm going to type in, will never happen when you close a deal. Okay. Seller will provide chocolate chip cookies at close of escrow. Those are seller instructions. Okay, we'll do another one. Create a new clause. This will be for the seller. And once again, I'm just showing you how to use the software. Okay. So you see the two. Now your situation will of course be far different than what I'm showing you, but this is an example of clauses that you're going to be creating, and how do we incorporate that into our contract. So we go into a transaction, we look at the documents, we look at, for example, the agent visual, the RPA, I should say, and then we'll put this in. So we'll click over here where it's, and I'll click to the side, other terms. So if I click other terms, a pencil highlight has just shown up. If I click the pencil, there's the clause manager icon, and then these three different choices. I'm going to talk about those in just a moment, but let's just talk about the clause manager. I'm going to choose buyers category, seller at close. Seller will provide chocolate chip cookies at close of escrow. I'm inserting. If I click here again, and you can do multiple clauses in the same area. If I choose this, once again, I choose the seller and insert. So now you see buyer's instructions to seller, seller's instructions to buyer. That sounds yummy. I need hot cocoa. It's cold out there. Now, okay, so the other thing, I click this again, that pencil. So the way we have it set up is that the first letter of each sentence, the first letter is capital, just like we learned in elementary school. In this, if we were to click this, it will now make every word capitalized. Every word start with a capital letter, I should say. And then if you want to de-emphasize this, it'll make every letter lowercase. And then if you wanted to make it scream or pop, every letter is capitalized. So this comes in handy if you need to emphasize maybe the instructions for a probate situation or a short sale situation. This is what you would do to overemphasize that. If you don't need it emphasized all that much, you can make it all lowercase. If you want to go back to where the first letter of every sentence starts with a capital letter, this doesn't let you do that. You have to change it manually. Or you can even add to it if you wanted to. Thank you. So that's an example of what we can do with a clause manager. So once again, our clause manager is on the transaction page. Go to transaction manager, I should say. And it's one of your transaction tools. Click the clause manager and you continue adding more clauses. Now, of course, your scenario is going to be, your situation is going to be different. You're going to, of course, going to be different. You're not going to do cookies and hot cocoa all the time. And of course, you're not going to put in a contract, but you are going to have a conversation with perhaps your broker, perhaps with the CR legal hotline to find out what verbiage is necessary in a given situation. And this is where you're going to record it. So that way, when that situation arises, no more going through the whole situation, looking for your broker, looking for your mentor, or calling CAR legal on a weekend. It's right here on the clause manager. And it's easy to pull up every single time. If a brokerage already has a number of clauses, you can import them if you want to. If you want to export those clauses, you can do it. If you need to delete a clause, by all means, you can hit delete clause and just choose the one that you want to delete. There we go. I'm deleting a clause. And that's it. So that's the beauty of using a clause manager. Now, I know that's a funny way of using a clause manager, but it's a way of just showing you how to use the software for zipForms, and perhaps that will show you the right way of the situation you may face in the future. Sorry, I was struggling with those words. Any questions regarding the clause manager?
Now, as far as I can tell so far, Leo, you're doing a great job.
You know, chocolate chip cookies and hot cocoa right now? Oh my goodness. I've just ruined myself for the rest of the day. Okay, the next one. Create a listing transaction using RPR. Okay. This is going to put some, we're going to put some energy into this one. So this is a realtor only benefit. So not the CRMLS users that don't pay realtor benefits will not have access to this. This is a benefit only to you. The Realtors Property Resource allows you to access property tax data from all properties nationwide, listed and unlisted. RPR helps the listing agents populate info into zipForms, and I'll show you that in just a moment. The great thing, it provides a lot of information, and it's a great tool that if you need to do a listing presentation, by all means, use RPR and try to incorporate it into your listing presentation when you talk to a new client that perhaps want to sell their home. I recommend to activate RPR through your CRMLS dashboard, and I'll show you where it's at in the dashboard. And let's go ahead and do that. Let me minimize. And let's go ahead and take a peek. So these are my transactions here. Okay, take a look, because we're going to do a change to that. And then we're going to MLS. There we go. Now I've already logged into MLS, and you see all the different icons here, and most of them, I don't know all of them, but I know some of them. I do know some of them, like InfoSparks. I'm familiar with that. SavvyCard. Anthony teaches a class in SavvyCard, and he also teaches RPR. There's Supra. I'm the key specialist, so I know about that. But we're going to focus on RPR, the Realtors Property Resource. When you register for RPR, you have to know your 9-digit National Realtor Database System ID number. We call it your NERDS ID number. How do you get that? If you forgot it, there's ways of finding out when you go to the website of narrpr.com and go through that process. You can call our association. We'll verify membership to provide you with that 9-digit number, which is different than your 8-digit state of California DRE license number. So once again, it's a 9-digit number and not your 8-digit DRE license number, because this is available to realtors nationwide. And what does it do? Well, let's practice. So you have a choice of residential and commercial properties. We're going to look at residential in this example. And it's laid out pretty nicely. It's like you put in the address or the city or any of this information, the type. In this type, it's going to be a for sale. We're going to practice with that. Active, etc. Cancel. You have these choices if you wish. Property type. Let's go ahead and click. Oh, what the heck? Click all. This one, or we can just reset it. There we go. Max. Oops. Just there we go. There we go. Clean it all out. So yeah, we cleaned it all out. Homes. Oh, let's get rid of that. Any. And then this. Any. Okay. So if you're looking for properties and say in, let's say in Lancaster, California. Yeah, there it is. Because Lancaster, California does not data share with our area, that's part of the Greater Antelope Valley Association Realtors. You have the ability to look for properties using this software, Realtors Property Resource, RPR. So as you see, there's lots of land choices out there. It's pretty dry out there, so don't be surprised by that. But what I'm going to really show you is not show you a bunch of places in Lancaster. What I really want to show you, there's a place for $100. Wow, a little piece of land for $100. Okay, I'm not going to focus on that. I am going to focus on this 2316 Hill Lane, Redondo Beach. Now, why is this place important to me? Because this is where I lived at for the first 5 years of my life. Now, this place was bought by mom and dad. My bedroom was right there in the front. It's a wooden structure. It was built in the 1930s. This big old tree wasn't that big when I was a kid. That house was like that, but these houses have changed quite a bit. And seems like they have a lot of cars there, but that's besides the point. So this house was purchased by my parents for $17,000 in, I think it was in 1969. Anyway, so they bought it for $17,000. So when mom and dad sold the house, they didn't realize that in 2021, the house would be worth somewhere between 1.2 and 1.3 million. Ouch. Yeah, that hurts. And it was sold to the current homeowner, which was a lot of money back then in 1979 for $68,000. So mom and dad, you know, and it was a lot of money back then. I mean, homes were not that expensive. Interest rates were at double digits. So if you want to get a loan, it wasn't at this 2 or 3% stuff. It was in double digits back then. So yeah, that's 1.2 or 1.3. Yeah, Redondo Beach. But you know, I'm not upset. It is what it is. So anyways, it's 5-bedroom, 1 bath. So it gives you information about the property, the living area, etc. You can also check out more information. And this is a great tool, once again, to show a potential client that you're going to be representing if they're going to sell this property. You can talk about the neighborhood. You can even use the same information when you're representing a buyer, because maybe perhaps the buyer is looking at what kind of schools are in this area. You better have some A+ schools in that area at that price range. AARP walkability, you know, it was where we lived at, it was on a hill and you had to walk down quite a bit to get to anything. So yeah, it's not the best walkability. So I agree with that score. Yeah, it's a 32 for environment, clean air. Yeah, it's near the city of Carson. No slamming against Carson, but there's a refinery out there that they put out, you know, bad air, put it nicely. Gives you more information about the area. I mean, the home location, it's the flood zone, the walkability, etc. The current homeowners that my mom and dad sold the house to, and legal information. in case you're looking like, yeah, this is the APN number, in case you're looking for that. A lot of information, tax information, etc. So this is going to be information that you would need, basically that APN number, to populate into when you represent the seller. So how do we pull this information from here and put it into zipForms? So this button right here, Lone Wolf, see is Wolf. And then we click Transactions, zipForm Edition, we click Connect. Now, I advise you to go through CRMLS dashboard to connect your RPR to it. So that way you can be able to pull up data from MLS. And you will need that from time to time if you use this tool over and over again. But then you would, if you click here to start a zipForm transaction, it's going to be asking you to link your zipForm account over to this. So just follow the instructions that you'll see the prompts, just follow the instructions all the way through. And once again, I'm going to click start a new zipForm transaction and watch what happens. I'm representing a listing, not a lease, but a listing. David's going to sell the house. Oh boy, I'm going to live back at the beach. Here we go. Go to zipForms. And it goes to this new screen. Just let it take its time. If you want to accelerate, yeah, you can click the link. But I would say wait, it'll pop up. If it takes too long, then you can always click the continue button. See, it does it on its own. I didn't do a thing. So now what you will see is, for starters, it automatically goes into the transaction. It automatically populates the information in the summary. And you'll see that there it is, 2316 Hill Lane in LA County. Zip code, Redondo Beach Unified School District, Block 7, etc. APN numbers right there. So yes. And you can see that there's a lot more information. If you were the listing agent, you continue on filling out all this information. HOA dues, there are none. There were none back then, there are none now. And there's more. You could just keep on filling this information out, comments that you need, etc. So, and then you can see here under parties. Now, this is David. It's David and his wife. I forget her name offhand, but anyways, you can add his wife here, buyer 2, but excuse me, seller 2. But for simplicity, we're just going to look at David's information. So here's David's information. David's first name, last name. Let's put in his email address, and it's going to be ouch. Okay, leo4work1@gmail.com. And you can fill in the phone number, etc. Now, if this was a trust fund of some sort, the individual who's going to sign on behalf of that trust fund you would fill out this information here for that individual. But once you do that, there we go. Oh, LA County, Los Angeles County. There we go. Now, yes, you can include a photo of them, but for simplicity's sake, let's not put a photo. Okay, we click save. Okay, documents. What are we going to need? We're going to need some documents. So we go into all forms, a cover sheet, maybe a residential listing agreement. Oh, who knows? What do we need? Agent visual inspection number 1. Oh, I don't know. What else do we need? I'm just making up stuff now. Bed bug, etc. Carbon monoxide detector. So you get the idea. You just keep on adding whatever forms you need in a given situation. If you feel like it's you added the wrong one, once again, click the drop down button and then click delete. So, and once again, if we look at, say, the residential listing agreement, and it will populate the information that we have in the summary. Here's David's name, kind of hard to see, but up in the top of this next page, I promise you, there's David's name there. David's name. Come on, there we go, 2316 Hill Lane, the wire fraud, electronic funds transfer advisory. So And this is where you would do the process of filling out all that which applies, the date prepared, etc., the terms, etc. You would go through all this, fill it out, and send it out to David for signatures. So this is how you would use RPR to create a transaction. By the way, if you wanted to look at, say, a property's, let's close this up. Let's say, you want to join the bandwagon of a lot of people that are like looking at leaving California. Well, we could look at, I don't know, give me a city. Anthony, give me a city that's with the United States that people are interested in moving to.
Let's go with Flagstaff, Arizona.
Flagstaff, Arizona. Oops, Arizona. There we go. So, okay, they got one property. Now, I don't know about you, but I think there might be more than one property available.
Go under
Flagstaff.
type and status, and then say public records instead.
Boom.
And then click out of it. And then hit enter on your key search. Perfect.
Went crazy. You know what? Let's go like this. All right, guess what? Oh, no, not that. Let's go with 3 minimum. 3 and then 2. Oh, this will be very specific. Well, Shazam.
There's still a lot.
I'm still disappointed. Really? I am surprised.
Instead of the list, Leo.
Yeah.
Go to the map. So in the upper right corner, right there, perfect. Get the map going, and then you can draw out your map.
Okay. Now let me just empty out some of this stuff here. I'll leave as public record, leave it that, drop that, and drop that. Are people just buying too many properties there?
No, but, and then choose freehand.
Yes.
And then click and hold, and then draw around where you see those cities. Oh, nope, that's too much. Your problem is you got too many.
Okay, how about that?
Too many.
Really? You think it's too many?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Delete. Okay.
Zoom back in.
Zoom back in. All right.
And then near the top there, draw a small little circle in between North 4th and Cedar Avenue.
Where do you see North 4th?
Smack dab in the middle, right there.
There it is. So you want to go in this area?
Mm-hmm.
All right, we can draw. Everybody, we're learning this together. There we go. Okay. 282.9 acres. Search in this area. Okay, got a few out there. All right, not bad. How about we go to anything for sale? Active under contract, pending. Yeah, no. Really, everybody's bought a house there. Okay, nobody's moving. Okay, I guess this was a bad example, but if we don't like that, we can always go to Austin, Texas. I was looking to move there long ago. And let's see. There are some serious listings available in Austin, Texas. In fact, I see an area that I kind of like up here near the lake area. So they'll draw freehand. Oops, freehand. Oops. Delete. Let's try again. And draw. Come on, let's draw. Draw. I know it's frustrating for some of you, like going, come on, just draw it right. I apologize. I am so sorry. I'm trying to draw. Okay. Search in this area. Oh, wow. So it's 243 properties available. Wow, that's a lot. I didn't realize there was that many. Okay, now show me the list. There we go. Wow. So we have 218,000. When was the last time you remember a house being sold here in Southern California for $218,000? Wow. So this is an example. What would you use? You would use if you're looking for properties outside of our area. If you have a client that's moving from Orange County to another area, for example, Cedar Park, Texas. Of course, you're not going to be representing them when they go to Texas, but you can probably contact an agent out there for a referral. So this is an example of how to use RPR for your assistance. And you can take a look at other topics here. And you can also learn. So by all means, there's a lot of videos that will help you use the system. And where's it at? Oh, okay, let's just go back home. And if we go all the way down to the bottom, there's a contact number for RPR. There's also a blog. The blog is also available. So that way there's a number of different training tools that will help you further understand how to use RPR to your benefit. And we do teach RPR with our association. It's taught by individuals like Anthony. It's also taught by our CRMLS staff that come and reach out to us via our webinars. So I hope that has piqued your interest, and by all means, take advantage of RPR. You're going to see that you'll be like, wow, I should have been using RPR long ago. Yeah, it's a great tool. Now, I think this is the last topic we're going to cover, share function. Wow, we're doing really well on time. Any questions about RPR before we go to the next stage?
I don't see any questions, Leo.
Okay. How many, just like a raise of hands of how many individuals have used RPR in the past?
And actually, Naz asks, does RPR have to be linked every time? No, just the first time.
That's correct. And the idea of linking your RPR account to your zipForms to your CRMLS, it allows you to allow the information to flow all the way through, especially when you're looking at MLS, because RPR pulls in data, at the very least tax information, but it'll pull in more information from those areas that the MLS services there have a data share with RPR. There are some areas, I think in like Idaho, that they do not provide data into RPR. And I'm guessing it looks like kind of like Flagstaff area didn't provide data too, which is kind of like, wow, okay. So that was RPR. How many people have used RPR? Anybody have heard of RPR?
Naz says that she uses it.
Thank you. Great. Pat,
And Pat does too. Excellent.
see? And one day in the future, I see it in the future, Pat will be teaching a class on RPR somewhere. I feel it. So let's look at now different topic. Share function. So the share function allows the agents to discuss forums with other agents, clients, and other parties. It's compatible for video, audio, chat, and screen share. It deters wasted time, energy going back and forth due to misunderstandings. For mentors, it can be used as a tool to educate new agents when teaching how to use zipForm contracts and forms and the other tools within zipForms. You can share multiple contracts and forms. So let's take a look. Let's take a look. Going into zipForms. There we go. So we're going to go into, let's go into transactions. 2316 Hill Lane. Let's add another contract. Let's add another form called a TDS. If you don't know the form name, you can just type in, for example, transfer. You're like, okay, it's got to be one of these things. The one I want is the real estate transfer disclosure form. And it looks like this. If I open this up, you'll notice that it looks different than the other contracts we've seen online. Yes, there is this information which auto-populated. There is this field that has to be completed, but there's these gray fields that we can't do anything to. See, if I click it, it gives me an error message. Well, it did a second ago. It's like, don't do that. Yeah, editable by seller one. So what this is for the seller to complete this section. Once the seller completes this section, then we can send it over to the seller for signatures. Now, in the past, it was, I'll provide you the form, you complete it and sign it and then send it back to me. But that's the reason why there's a hesitation. But sometimes homeowners, they're not used to filling out CAR contracts on a regular basis. They don't understand why it's important to be as detailed and as accurate as possible. Perhaps they forget the check mark says water supply. So you get it, and then you're reviewing it before you send it out. And then you realize, there's missing a water supply. I've seen water there. I had a cup of water there. I know there's water there. They had a bathtub, they had a shower. I know there's water there. So now you have to get that form, show it to the client and says, you said there's no water, but there's a water faucet there in your kitchen. They're like, oh, I'm sorry. So then you have to do another contract and go through it again. So as you could see, you could kind of get the ideas like this is just a lot of waste and time going back and forth, correcting something. With the share function, you're going to save time and energy. So I get out of this form, and then I go back into the transaction, and we go into parties. So there's this button that says share, and this button that doesn't show any wording, but it is the same icon. So if two things look alike, they must be alike. So if I click this and tiny words show up, it says share. Like that, Anthony? There's share, and then there's share.
Yes.
So we click share. Now, if my 9-year-old was around, he'd start laughing. Thanks. That's the reason why he's in school right now, so he can't start laughing. So I want my client, David, to be able to edit that form. Sure, we'll give him this information. You can view the history. Okay, fine. But what I want to emphasize is the stop sharing date, and I'm going to stop the sharing date on not in January. I need this done ASAP. So today is the 9th. I want this done by the 10th. If I have to go over to their house to make sure it gets done, I'm going to make sure it gets done, because let's get this on the market and take care of them as soon as possible. Because David told me he needs to sell this house ASAP. We're going to make that happen because it's in Redondo Beach. That's why. So beautiful. So you can share a number of different documents with your client, but in this example, we're going to focus on the real estate transfer disclosure statement. So I'm going to click this, the TDS statement, save and send. David A was successfully created. I'm going to send this over to him to his email address. I can put in information. Please do not proceed without speaking to me. You don't have to personalize it, but I do. I like to give some last minute instructions. Okay, so it's on its way over to David, the homeowner. So we're waiting for the homeowner, David, to get that email. So we just wait a little bit. Oh, there it is. So David has received the email. David is now going to read this, and David's getting a phone call from me, the agent, notifying him like, okay, we're going to go over this together. I just want you to understand this whole process. So David's clicking that. It's viewing documents. So the only way for David to view these documents is he has to create a Zip community account, and it's free. He can do it via Facebook. You can do it through Google+. But from the perspective of real estate and privacy, Anthony and myself, we're comfortable with not allowing separate entities to know that my client is doing something real estate related. I feel, and same thing with Anthony, we feel that Facebook and Google, they don't need to know that information. They just need to know, they don't need to know that information at all. So my client is going to create a username, David at Hill Lane. And then the password will be, I don't know, I'll make something up. And then, oh, my bad. I should not have done that. I'm trying to create an account. So I create an account because he has not created an account. He's a seller. There's his username that they suggested. Okay. His email address, password, I'll just make it different. Okay, and having one special character. Okay, special character. There we go. Special character. Just follow the instructions like it's right up there. And then create the account. You won't see this, but I've used this email address a lot when I do training. So just disregard what you're going to see here. And create the account. Don't save it. No, never. Okay. So the first thing that comes up is our dear friend David has to agree to the end user license agreement. It's a good idea for you to save it on your computer or print it out so that way you have readily available in case David or any future clients have a question about the end user agreement. I know it's often overlooked, but it's important that you have it on file available so that way you can be able to explain this over to your client. So the client has the option to either agree or not to agree. In this case, it's going to agree because otherwise, if he does not agree, we stop right here and we can't go any further. And continue. And mind you, this whole process takes place with the knowledge that my client has a computer, has an email address, and is comfortable doing this. So 2316 Hill Lane. So we look at documents. And there is the real estate transfer disclosure statement, the TDS. So the purple areas, I explained to Dave, there are purple areas that you cannot touch. I will take care of that later. The areas that you can fill out will be the ones in light blue. So you can, Dave, I want you to take your time and going over this. I'm not going to tell Dave to complete this. I'm not going to tell Dave how to complete this. I'm just going to tell Dave that he has to complete this. So I'm not going to tell Dave, click water heater, that's gas. Okay, I'm not going to tell Dave that, but it's up to Dave to complete this and finish this all up. So I'm going to stop right here because there's just too many choices, and this would take Dave a long time. Dave, Dave's has to walk all over the house and just like, do we have this? We have this, and the wife says yes, and the kids say yes, and everybody says yes. So, touch. So once they're done, I'm going to purposely leave off gas supply and water supply. So that way you could see how it's updated. Okay. And of course, there's more information. Dave's going to fill this out, but we're going to skip this right now and the questions that he has to answer. And then Dave is going to click save. Okay. And then I go back up here and just leave it right there for just a second because to make it easier for everybody. So I'm going to look at my zipForms. I, Leo, the agent on the phone with Dave, I am going to look at the documents, go back into TDS, and I'll say, excellent, Dave, thank you. Let me just zoom in a little bit so you can see what that looks like. Okay. So like, thank you, range, great. And I'm going through this, great. And then I went, whoa. Hey, Dave, you got water at the house? Like, yes, of course I do. Well, you didn't click the water supply. And Dave, you got gas out there? Yeah, of course I do. Well, you forgot to fill out the gas supply. It's like, okay, hold on a second. Let me update that. So Dave goes into it. Make sure you tell Dave to save what he does. So we're going to go into, where's that? There we go. Going back to Dave. Hey, Dave. Dave's going to click water supply, city. And then this is going to, and this is that field we have to get rid of, clean up later. And then we click here for gas supply and utility company. Okay. Dave's going to click save. Excellent. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go back out of it because it doesn't refresh as fast like that way. We have to get back out of it and then go back into it to the TDS form. And there it is. Dave has completed the water supply section and the gas supply section. So you can see how working with a client, working with other agents to validate the information, whether it's a TDS form or any other form that's in question, will speed up the process of preventing any unnecessary mistakes. So this is a tool I strongly recommend that you keep practicing with, whether it's between other agents. You can practice with loved ones, perhaps, just to practice this, to see what, how to use it to the best of your abilities. So yeah, this is the share function that's used. And once again, how do I find it? Go in the transaction. Go into parties. It's a party when you share. You can click the share button or you can click the share button. And see, there's an item, there's an icon right there. There's, you can edit forms because you've given him the ability to edit forms. That's it. So that was a lot of talking there for sharing because it's caring. Was that good? I think that was good. Any other questions?
Oh, there is one, Leo. Do you
Yes.
want to show the email to transaction function?
Email to transaction function. So the purpose of it is to add documents into my transaction.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yes, I recall that one. Okay, so here we are. Email to transaction. Okay. Let me back up. What did I hit to start? Okay, so for starters, I went into the transaction itself. And then within the summary, one of my choices will email to transaction. So I click that. And then this is the, I'm going to compose an email, send documents, messages, and more directly to this transaction by including the transaction email address in your email communication. So if I click compose email, let me just show you what it looks like. Sure. Done. And then it's going to be subject, need proof of funds. Okay. All right. And then I click send. Okay. Now it's on its way. Now we're going to look for that email. Poor Dave, he's working overtime on this one. There we go. Need proof of funds. Okay. Reply to this email or send a new one with the attachments. Well, that's a weird message. Okay, you know what? I'm going to do it the right way. To send documents to Lone Wolf Technologies for a transaction, for the property address, reply to this email. So I'll hit reply because, you know, old man Dave is used to this kind of stuff. We're going to look for an attachment. We're going to look on proof of funds, which was somewhere. Are my eyes really that bad? Oh, there it is. Proof of funds. I know somebody out there mentally said, look, it's right there on the left. Thank you very much. And now I click send. Okay. We made a fictitious document, proof of funds. Message sent. So now if I minimize this, this is the email that we were in, Dave's email. And then we go into documents. It may take a little bit before it to show up. So we'll have to wait. I think last time it took a good 10 minutes before it showed up. So
Hopefully it won't be that long.
yeah, we could stall for time and talk about other stuff.
But there's another way of using that email to transaction, and
Okay.
that is if you're a listing agent, you could actually put that link that you see there for transaction email in your listing in the MLS under the private remarks section. And you can request that agents submit their offers directly into the transaction itself. So now you have a way and a means of receiving, or your transaction has a way and a means of receiving the transaction directly from the other agents. So once they get their signed contracts for the purchase, they can now email those contracts directly to you, the listing agent, which is great.
I agree. That's this is going to sound like an old person saying that. That's a great and nifty way of doing things. But it's true, because rather than going through a separate going through another process, it's all right there. It's like, let me just click and make it easier for everybody. So yeah, once again, click, save this, and then populate it into your listing under agent remarks, of course. Is it in there yet? Documents? I'm so impatient. Nope. Okay, we wait. You know, the internet's pretty fast, but not apparently that fast to put in proof of funds. So we wait.
The system's running a little slow, I guess.
That's fine. We can, that's fine. So we can talk about something different. You know, let's see. Let's go back into, what was it? Let's touch on Forms Advisor real quick. Forms Advisor. Okay, where did I find Forms Advisor? Let's go back. Okay, so on the transaction page, we click Transaction Tools right over here. And there's Forms Advisor. Now, Forms Advisor is a questionnaire, and it helps determine what forms you need in a given situation. So based on your answers that you provide on this questionnaire, it'll determine what those forms are, what's necessary, and what's suggested. Forms Tutor helps you through understand the form and why it's needed. Forms Tutor only has probably about 40 some forms that's available through there, and I'll show you what that looks like. But let me show you Forms Advisor first, because I am stalling for time. So first thing is, let's go ahead and look at a purchase. And it's there we go, choose that one. So is the agent a member of the MLS? Yes. Are you confirming or changing the compensation promised in the MLS listing? Yes. Is there a co-listing, etc.? You can read these questions and answer them one by one. Once you have answered this section, click Accepted Selected Items. If you go to the next session without doing that, you won't be able to finish it. Was the property constructed prior to 1978? Yes, it was. It was the 1930s. Is the property greater than 300,000? Oh yes, definitely worth more than that. Has the property been listed? Let's say no. And you can go through these and answer them one by one. And the mentality as you answer these questions is that you're sitting across a table with the CAR Legal Hotline representative, and they're asking you these questions. Does the buyer waive any inspections? No. If the property will be tenant occupied and close of escrow, who will be the tenant? Seller. So here is a summary, and it gives you some legal info. It has you complete this as a selection of the forms and or any information provided by the Forms Advisor is based upon the information you provide regarding the transaction. If the actual transaction information is different from the information you provide in Forms Advisor, or if after Forms Advisor provides you with a selection of forms, the transaction information changes in any way, The selection of forms and or any information provided. Read Forms Advisor and User License Agreement, EULA. I accept. And please enter the file name. But before we do that, hold on, let me just look at the other stuff. Who do you represent? These are just reviewing the questions that the answers that you've created. And now you can see get recommended forms by clicking this button. You must accept. I accept. And this is 2316 Hill Lane. So let's go into see get recommended forms. So these are the cover sheet, 81, 82, addendum, etc. You can see that they're recommending all these. Okay, so they're recommending these forms. We don't need HOA because there's no, because the way I answered the question. Okay, so anyways, what these icons mean is, for example, this is a link to Forms Tutor. So if I were to click, let's do something. Okay, let's do that one, ESD. You don't have access. Oh, bad word. Because maybe it signed me out. Because sometimes if you take too long, it signs you out. So you have to go back in. We're in Forms Tutor, which is found in the CAR website. And we go for ESD. And ESD is not there. There it is. Exempt seller disclosure. And you're like, what does that mean? Okay, well, if you click this button here, you can read what it's for. So in additions to questions specified on the TDS, the law requires sellers to make other disclosures. You can keep on reading. If you're someone like me that can read and prefer to listen, and good, click here. So now you can be able to listen, a representative from CAR read this to you word for word while you're reading along to this. Okay, so I can't talk and listen at the same time. So I'm going to close that. Now, if you're looking like, oh, okay, let me look for something else. Maybe there's another blue button. Oh, in this particular one, there's only one blue button to choose from. So that's all we can take a look at. And so that's the tutor for it. Yes, the tutor, the Forms Tutor. Now, if we want to look at a different form, like notice to buyer to perform or notice the seller to perform, we can click that one. And we also see that it starts off with a blue button as well to explain what the purpose of the form is. And then certain areas of that form that says the paragraph identifies the seller's action specified in the RPA. So you can read along and it tells you contingencies. The paragraph identifies the seller contingencies that are found in the seller purchase of replacement property contingency form, etc. You can read all the way through. So yeah, this is the Forms Tutor, which helps educate you quite a bit on these different forms. Wow, that's a mouthful. Oh yeah, we still got this guy. Okay, goodbye. The other icons link to Q&A, questions and answer. If you were to click it, then you can be able to read. There we go. The buyer representation agreements. So if you have questions about it, you can read about it here. There's some questions and answers that can be able to assist you with that particular form. And then lastly, if you want to see a PDF version of it, yeah, go ahead and click this one, and it'll show you a sample. Well, it's supposed to show you a sample. This one didn't for some reason. Huh. Okay, well, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. That's the beauty of the internet. Keep trying until you see it. That's a little embarrassing. It's okay. I'm over it. So that is Forms Advisor. And it gives you a summary. Once again, summary, your answers, get recommended forms, and additional advisories. That's it. So that's Forms advisor. I think I stalled enough time. How about now? Let's look at the documents. Well, it's taking its sweet time.
No, it's there. You
Oh,
see the
yes.
folder inbox.
Inbox, because it used to say archive. Now it's inbox. Yes. Mr. Anthony was just telling me about that earlier today. I said, I don't believe you, but I should always believe him. So here it is, proof of funds. And what is the proof of funds? This is something that we created on our own. Proof of funds. Funds are in my account. Money total 1.5 billion. Yay, I totally believe you, Anthony. So that's how you would send a document directly into the transaction. Because if you collect a lot of notes and information about the transaction as you're working with your client, you can use that code to be able to send it directly into this transaction. And if you need to, you can put it together, put it in different folders. Like let's say you had different folders. Let's say you go into the folders. Let's say you can create a folder if you wanted to. Folder, not needing signatures. Okay. So then not needing signatures. Okay, the cover can go in there. What else doesn't need a signature? Like everything else needs a signature. And there it is, not needing signature. So you have two folders. You can organize it. Let me go back. You can organize it a little bit by dragging this little monster down. And, or you can put everything else behind it. It's entirely up to you, but once you're done organizing, click it there. So, so that way it's easily visually makes life easier for you if you have these folders in case things are just irking you and it makes it difficult to see. Because sometimes it's 3 o'clock in the morning and you just need to be able to see something, go after it and get it done. So that way you get 3 hours sleep before you go see the client. Happens sometimes. A little note from our friends at Lone Wolf. We've recently added a disclosures tab to the document section within a transaction, make it easier to utilize our seller's shield integration. I see. Okay, well, we can look at that later. Anything else? Any
I think you
questions?
pretty much covered everything, Leo.
How many people are in this lovely class with us? How many?
10.
10 of the best people on the planet. I thank you for being here with us. All 10 of you, I see great success because all of you have decided to take the extra step of learning about this. And I strongly recommend that you do practice with the TOA, as well as the RPR, and do the share function over and over again. You can share documents between agents. You can, if you have a question about a document, share it with your mentor. So that way your mentor can look at it and it's like, okay, great. I see what you're looking at. Okay, this is the areas you need to work on. So do use zipForms to the best of your abilities and use it. It's there for you. It's part of your membership. You paid for it. If you have any questions, you can contact me. You can contact Anthony. You can also contact zipForms as well. zipForm support through CAR is 213-739-8227. ZipLogix, it was in charge of zipForms and now it's owned by Lone Wolf. You can contact them at 586 area code 840-0140. They're open 24 hours on weekdays. On weekends, they're open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. If you need legal advice, like what form do I need in a given situation? Is this the right form? Is this okay for me to use? These are all legal questions that we cannot answer because we're not legally trained to give you that answer. And we don't want to give you the wrong information. You want to contact Sierra Legal, the 213-739-8282. They're going to ask you for your 9-digit NERDS number, NERDS ID number, National Realtor number. If you don't know what that is, contact our association so we can be able to provide it to you after we verify information with you. And last but not least will be Lone Wolf support, the 866-279-9653, option 1. Yes, and that's pretty much it. So you've learned all the advanced tips. You've learned about RPR. I would say sign up for those extra classes that we offer and take advantage of the resources that are available. I mean, we have them available through our education. Look through our video library, and you will see that our association has put up information about Supra, zipForms, MLS, other recorded webinars, safety, and other videos. So do take advantage of it. And if you're kind of curious, like, oh, is there a video recording of past advanced tips? Oh, yes. Oh, yes, we did. Right there, there's one example. There's another example. So go ahead and take a review on it and watch it. And I invite you to keep coming to this class over and over again. So that way, perhaps you learn something new next time. All right. With that, Anthony, any wise words before we go?
Practice. I hope you guys all had fun today. Thanks, Ning Yang or Ning Yen, for the kind words. She says thank you. I hope everybody has a great and wonderful week, and please stay dry.
Yes, and happy holidays, everybody. And thank you for joining us on this webinar, and we look forward to you attending many more in the future. Have a great day. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.